Knowing my chat and knowing that everyone is simping, yeah, knowing that my chat consists of majority of simps, we gotta do Eve's voice lines. But before we do Eve's voice lines, what we need to do is to understand Eve herself. So we begin with her champion teaser, and then we'll continue with the story of Eva.
Come on. Oh, are you lonely?
That's pretty much why we're in here, because we're lonely, bro. If I wasn't lonely, I wasn't playing League of Legends, I would be doing something else.
Let Evelynn take over.
I mean, as far as the trailers go, this one is amazing. Straight up. Straight up, yes mommy, yeah, we'll take that. Agony's Embrace. So that was her teaser, because that was the reworked Eve, because Eve before that was questionable, to say the least. Yeah, I don't want to insult the old Eve, but let's just say she was slightly questionable. So let's see her story, because as far as I'm concerned, she's just a demon. That's pretty much it. The demon that managed to create a Batman in League of Legends, we know as Vayne, because she killed Vayne's parents. That's about it.
Hello everyone, and welcome! After a lot of hints and teasing, we finally got our hands on Evelynn's lore. So
Lore. Good thing he said lore, because bro, I would love to get my hands somewhere else.
let's have a look at the demon who murdered Vayne's parents.
Yep.
Within the dark seams of Runeterra, the demon Evelynn searches for her next victim. She lures in prey with the voluptuous facade of a human female, but once a person succumbs to her charms, Evelynn's true form is unleashed. She then subjects her victim to unspeakable torment, gratifying herself with their pain. To the demon, these liaisons are innocent flings. To the rest of Runeterra, they are ghoulish tales of lust gone awry and horrific reminders of the cost of wanton desire.
Actually worth it.
Evelynn was not always a skilled huntress. She began eons ago as something primordial, shapeless, and barely sentient. This nascent wisp of shadow existed numb and unroused by any stimulation for centuries. It might have remained so, had the world not been upended by conflict. The Rune Wars, as they would come to be known, brought an era of mass suffering the world had never known. As people across Runeterra began to experience a vast array of pain, anguish, and loss, the shadow stirred.
Because yeah, during the Rune Wars, imagine World War III, so that was what happening during the Rune Wars. Because everyone had nukes, the runes that rises on the mission to catch them all. Like Pokemon, instead of catching Pokemon, he's catching all of the runes. And runes are basically nukes. Simple as that. Everyone had nukes, everyone started bombarding everything, so that's what happened.
The nothingness it had known for so long had been replaced by manic vibrations of an agonized world. The creature quivered with excitement. As the Rune Wars escalated, the world's torment grew so intense the shadow felt as if it might burst. It drank in all of Runeterra's pain, which it experienced as boundless pleasure. The sensation nourished the creature, and over time, it transformed it into something more. It became a demon, a ravenous spiritual parasite that fed on the basis of human emotions. When the wars finally ended, the world's suffering waned, and the demon found itself growing desperate.
And hungry.
The only pleasure it had ever known was born of other creatures' misery. Without their pain, it felt nothing.
So basically a Timo? Hello? Straight up a Timo.
Just as it had in the earliest days. If the world would not provide the suffering the demon needed to thrive, it would have to make its own.
Thus, ranged top laners were born.
It needed to inflict pain on other beings so that it could experience the elation again.
And Timo was created as well.
At first, catching prey was a challenge for the demon. It could move undetected in its shadow form, but to touch a human, The creature needed to manifest as something tangible. It made several attempts to fashion a physical body from its shadow flesh, but each result was more monstrous than the last, scaring off her prey. The demon realized it needed a shape that was pleasing to humans, one that would not only lure them right into its claws, but would offer them ecstasy born of their own desires,
Annie.
so that their pain would be that much sweeter. From the shadows, it began to study those it sought to prey upon. It tailored its flesh to their liking, learned to say what they wanted to hear, and to walk in a manner they found alluring. In a matter of weeks, the demon had perfected her physique, leading dozens of unarmed victims to be tortured to death at her hands. Though she relishes the exquisite pain of each of her victims, she always finds herself wanting more. Each human's desires are so small, they always expire too soon. Their pain, too fleeting to give her anything more than tiny morsels of pleasure, is just enough to tide her over to the next feeding. She yearns for the day she can plunge the world into utter chaos, and she
So basically she's an addict. Straight up, addict 101.
can return to an existence of pure rapturous ecstasy.
The tallest daisy.
Evelynn slinked through the teeming streets, the shadows of her body blending seamlessly with the night. Her eyes glinted with the gloom, though only the keenest observer would have noticed. Drunk sailors and harlots chatted in a nearby thoroughfare, blissfully unaware they were being watched by a demon in the dark. The demon, on the other hand, saw them all with perfect clarity.
Like, bro, if we don't have pictures in here, this is straight up the description of Timo. And his passive. Timo is being chilling, who is a demon, who wants to kill everyone, who wants to make suffering a thing everywhere. And he's just observing everyone, you know? I'm starting to think Timo and Eve are exactly the same thing.
And judged them with the most discerning eye. Evelynn's gaze settled on a man lying in the gutter, a bottle of beet wine dangling from his hands. Ordinarily, the demon wouldn't give a second thought to someone in his condition, but she had not fed in days and she found herself desperate enough to consider the man, if only for a moment. It would be so easy. All she needed was to lure him away to one of the numerous alleys far from the glow of the street lamps. The thought perished as she watched a cockroach scurry across the drunk's face. This was a man too inebriated to feel. His arousal would be vague and muted, with none of the urgent attraction she loved to see in her victims before she brought them low. She might even flay an entire arm before he mustered a scream. And that was the problem. Over the course of countless feedings, Evelynn had learned everything about her palate.
So basically she wants her targets, she wants her victims to feel something. So chat, as League of Legends players, we are safe. Because we are dead inside, there is nothing that can happen to us. No, we're good. We're safe.
She preferred, no, needed her victims to feel every prick, every bite, every bit of flesh she peeled away with her claws. The man in this condition would be dull and unfulfilling, scarcely worth her time. She dismissed the drunk and continued down the muddy promenade, past the window of a drank candlelit tavern. A fat belching woman threw open its doors and stumbled out into the night, grasping a half-eaten turkey leg. For a moment Evelynn considered the woman, how she might woo her into an embrace, and then into unspeakable hell that would follow. The demon watched as the woman wolfed down the rest of the meat, never tasting it. There was something deep inside her, a melancholy that would taint the experience. Evelynn preferred to inflict the pain herself. The demon moved on.
Wait, so just because that woman was eating chicken, that's why you didn't choose her? So Eve doesn't like chicken. Got it.
On, gliding through the shadows of the town, over two more drunks, past a beggar asking for alms, between a couple in the midst of an argument. Evelynn found them all completely unappealing. Hurting them would be like plucking a flower that had already wilted. She preferred her daisies tall and healthy, for those were the most satisfying to cut down. A dreadful thought overtook her. Perhaps she had made a mistake choosing this wretched backwater as her hunting ground. Perhaps at any moment the thrill from her last victim might wear off, leaving only the nothingness, that utterly empty space inside her where feelings should be. And then she saw him. The gentleman was positively beaming as he exited one of the high-end pubs. He was dapper without being flashy, and he hummed a jaunty tune to himself as he set off down the street with a bouquet of flowers tucked gingerly in the fold of his arm.
Aww.
The two lashes on Evelynn's back writhed with excitement. Even from a distance, she sensed this man was completely content in his own skin. She dashed after the gentleman, taking great care not to lose track of her prey, or to alert him to her presence. He walked for nearly half an hour before finally turning up a long walkway toward a modestly sized cut stone manor. At the end of the path, the man stepped through the heavy oak door to his home. Evelynn held her unblinking gaze on the windows of the man's house as they lit one by one with warm candlelight. A slender, austere woman in a high-necked evening gown entered and greeted the man with a welcoming embrace. She feigned a slight surprise at the flowers he had brought.
So basically someone rich. I feel like we're going with the Batman scenario. I feel like these are Wayne's parents. That's Wayne's house, isn't it? Yeah, I'm thinking about it because, you know, so far I'm looking at the Batman scenario. The parents are very rich, they live in an amazing mansion. So far everything do be aligning in here.
Before placing them in a clean vase right next to an old banquet. The demon's interest grew. A moment later, two children, scarcely out of diapers, ran into the room and threw their arms around the man's legs.
Two children, don't tell me Wayne has a brother or sister. No shot.
Their wide grins sparkling with tiny teeth. Though the scene played like the epitome of domestic bliss, Evelynn knew what she would find if she probed just a little deeper. She waited patiently, watching the candles go out one by one until only the parlor remained lit. The man was alone, settling into a reading chair to draw on his pipe. Evelynn crept out of the shadows, her dark wispy limbs giving way to warm flesh. Her demonic lashes disappeared behind her back, revealing a shapely female form with curves too generous for any eye to ignore.
True that. Actually true that.
Her hips waggled softly as she sauntered across the lawn to the window. She was nearly arm's length from the glass when she saw the man bolt upright from his chair at the sight of her, his pipe nearly falling from his mouth. Evelynn beckoned with a single finger, motioning for the man to join her outside. The man crept to the front door and opened it tentatively, curious to investigate the strange beauty lurking outside his window. He approached her on the lawn with great apprehension and greater anticipation.
"Who are you?"
he asked timidly.
"I'm whatever you want me to be,"
assured the demon. As
Zoe. Yeah, that could be good.
Evelynn locked eyes with the man, she plumbed the depth of his soul and found exactly what she was looking for. That tiny lesion of discontent that festered within even the happiest person. There it is, she thought. All that he wants and cannot have.
"My family,"
the man said, unable to finish his thought. The demon leaned close.
"Shh, it's okay.
She whispered in the man's ear.
I know what you want, and the guilt you feel for wanting it. Let it go."
She pulled back to find the man helplessly captivated.
"Can I have you?"
He
Straight up, no questions asked, just straight up to the point. No, I'm man enough focus, I like this guy.
asked, ashamed of his brazeness, but overcome by a strange desire to take her right there on the lawn.
"Of course, honey. That's why I'm here,"
said the demon. He touched her face with the tips of his fingers, caressing her cheek. She held his hand firmly to her skin and released a soft, sultry chuckle. This sweet, tender, happy man would be hers tonight. He had so much pain to give, and she would take it all. From behind them, the shuffling of slippered feet sounded from the open doorway of the house. "Is everything okay, love?" asked the man's wife.
"Everything's going to be wonderful, my darling,"
The demon answered for the dumbstick man. The deal had become even sweeter and the prospects more enticing. There was only one daisy in full flower to pluck, and one bulb to bloom while it watched.
So did Eva spoke in her voice or did Eva use the man's voice? Because let's just say, if you have a husband and your husband sounds like Eva for a second, should sound some alarms, not gonna lie.
And that was the story of Evelynn. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about her, I highly recommend looking into Vayne as well.
So this is not confirmed that these were Vayne's parents, by the way. Uh-huh.
From that story we know that Evelynn has a dark cult of followers near Demacia, so that's where the story might continue. But that's it for this video. I really want to mention two things.
Eve has a cult. I'm just asking for a friend. How does one join the cult? You know, just asking for a friend.
Number 1, our second channel recently got active again, so feel free to check it out if you want to see other content.
Nice.
And number 2, this was the first video voiced by the people from our Discord. Huge props to Affogato Chemist for lending me her voice. It is 1,000 times better than if I had to voice Evelynn.
Honestly, I'd give it a shot, not gonna lie.
So if you like this video, feel free to rate it and subscribe for more lore. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Discord if you'd like to chat. And don't forget about merch. Don't tell me you can't fit an extra mug into your home.
True that.
And with that, thank you all so much for watching and for your support. You know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you again.
And that's Eve's video. And that's the story of Eva. Honestly, I was expecting slightly more, but okay, at least we know that she was a primordial being. So technically, Eve has no gender, has no sex. Because that's just a being that's transformed into Eva. She can be whatever she wants to be. It, her, that, he. Well, you get the idea. Still smash through that, I'm not judging, you know? Anyway, that's the video.